When I was young, we were always on the move, traveling with our animals, leading them to green pastures. We moved constantly. Back in those days, a herder left home early in the morning and came back late in the evening after spending all day in the meadow with his animals. Nowadays, we let our livestock graze in the mornings on their own and then herd them back in the afternoon. In the evenings during summer months, we spend time together. But in September, we'll move on again. Everyone here shares the pasture on this mountain range and does their best to maintain it. But overgrazing can be a problem. We've had really poor pastures for nearly 4 years in a row. Times are hard when the pasture is poor. The animals don't get the nutrition they need to stay healthy and strong, so we have to travel greater distances in search of good grasslands. But now, something else is happening. We've experienced extreme weather, hot and cold. It's something everyone notices. Last winter, we had a tremendous amount of snow and record low temperatures, which left many of our animals weak. There was nothing we could do to protect them. In December, I counted the number of dead animals. I had lost over 40, half of my herd. These changes in the weather are having the greatest impact on our lives now. In a very short time, all of our food and all that we need to live can be destroyed.
At White Lake, Saga Nur, outside the city of Darkhan, it's horse branding day. The Buddhist calendar says it's an auspicious day to tame animals, and men from 3 families are pitching in with the hard work. They all live in a more or less traditional way here, raising livestock and moving to different pastures throughout the year. Even with all the migration to the cities, some 40% of Mongolians still live as nomadic herders. But for Dolgor Ma and her family, life has changed too. They moved here, near the city, from remote Gobi Altai province, because they were too far from any markets. And that's another trend for many of Mongolia's herders, who can only keep making a living if they adapt to the changing economy. Living near a city, Dolgor Ma's family now gets twice the price for their camel's milk, and her son, Shinbayar, can go to school nearby in Darkhan. And that might mean a better future for him. But that's no longer guaranteed in a changing Mongolia, where urban life and mining are steadily replacing rural life. For now, at least, this family is able to keep its traditions alive, and Shinbayar's future seems wide open. Basanthu still lives in a traditional Mongolian ger, or yurt, but she's given up her old nomadic life. For the past year, her ger has been based in just one place, in one of the sprawling shanty towns surrounding the capital, Ulaanbaatar. Like many people living here, Basanthu used to raise animals on Mongolia's steppes, but that life is growing harder and harder because of economic pressures, environmental changes, and a string of devastating winters that killed off huge herds of livestock a decade ago. Since then, hundreds of thousands of nomadic herders have packed up and moved here to look for work. Basan-Hu came to the city to live with two of her sons after her husband died. She gets a $50 a month pension, and one son has found construction work, so the family is getting by. But she admits that if her husband were alive, he never would have agreed to leave the countryside and their old way of life. Life on the city's outskirts is not easy, but it's become a typical way of life for Mongolians. With the influx of migrants like Basan-Hu and her family, Ulaanbaatar's population has ballooned. Makeshift houses and gers now fill what used to be grassland. Now more than half of the people in the capital, or 1 in every 5 Mongolians, live in these suburban ger districts without basic sanitation or infrastructure. There are some signs of improvement here. One kindergarten is being built with Japanese aid. The World Bank funds clean water projects, and residents can apply to own the land where they've settled. But unemployment is high, and conditions are particularly bad in winter, when the air is full of thick smoke from the homes heated with burning coal and garbage.
Singing to keep his spirits up, 11-year-old Jagal sets off to work in Ulaanbaatar's Parliament Square, all under the watchful eye of the nation's greatest leader, Genghis Khan. He's one of Mongolia's street children, with no parents or home. I usually make about 40 cents a day, he tells me. It's just enough for me to get food and the other things that I need. Almost a third of Mongolia's population is classified as urban poor. In the past decade, hundreds of thousands of nomadic herders have moved into the cities. Unemployment and serious alcohol abuse is rife, and in the gap left by the Soviet nanny state, the social safety net has many holes. Thousands of children have been abandoned to fend for themselves. This is one of Ulaanbaatar's slum neighborhoods, and to be honest, it's not too bad. It's pretty warm here in the height of summer, but imagine being here in 6 months' time and living on the streets, when the temperature drops to -45. That's a fate these children only narrowly escaped.
Her baby sister, they were actually left at the front gate in the winter time. And there was a note saying, my life is too difficult. I'm sorry I didn't meet you. I can't look after these children, but maybe I will come back one day.
But most parents don't come back. Now, home is the Lotus Center, a childcare shelter that takes in children who've been abandoned, abused, or are living on the streets.
Kids go out begging or working in the markets and things like that. And there is a lot of working children bringing in food for families. So that makes a lot of problems, and kids ending up living on the street.
And to give the children a sense of their heritage, the Lotus Center has taken them back to the countryside. A traditional Mongolian nomad camp with lots to do.
Every children now in here it's happy because they like it every day swimming and activities, different activities.
Some of the activities are designed to keep them fit and healthy, but others, like language classes, are giving them skills which should help them survive long after they've left the camp. But at the end of the day, for these children, orphaned and abandoned, the biggest battle is just to keep a smile on their faces. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Mongolia.